and welcome to another IELTS lunch break with Fabi. Okay, in these lives every Monday and Wednesday at 12 p.m. Brisbane time, I help you achieve your 7 in writing. Okay, so everything we talk about here is to help you get your 7+ in the writing part of the IELTS exam. Okay, guys, so there are, hi Carlos, how are you? How are you? So yeah, guys, so I know that so many people struggle with the 7 in IELTS writing, so I'm here to help you, okay? So I don't know if you managed to catch the lives from last week, all right? So that's last week and this week, okay? So last week, we talked about what makes a good piece of writing. Okay, so because a lot of people, they have some tricks, some strategies, and they try to cut corners, when in the end of the day, all you need to get a 7+ in writing is a good piece of writing. Okay, and that's what I help my students do. And if you watch the live, I told you a little bit about my story and how I achieved my goals, okay, and why writing is so easy for me today, okay, and how I got the score I needed on the IELTS exam too, okay, and all the other exams I did, all right. And then on Monday, we talked about something that I think stop a lot of people from getting a 7, which is, what is a 7 in writing? Okay, so a lot of people can't quite get the 7 that they need just because they don't know what a 7 is, all right? So if you haven't seen these videos yet, just head to YouTube. They're all there, okay? So if you want a 7, those are the videos you need to watch. Okay. All right, so today we're gonna talk about grammar, okay? And the reason oh, nice to see you too. Hello, hi. And the reason I decided to devote some of these meetings that we are having to grammar, okay, guys, is mainly because from my experience, all right, the thing that's stopping most people from getting a 7 in writing is the grammar, all right? So I've spoken to a lot of examiners, I've been to lots of workshops, I've helped lots of students, and usually the main problem is the grammar, okay? So students, they keep getting 6.5 because they keep making the same grammar mistakes, all right? So that's why a few weeks ago, we talked about linking words, okay? So linking words are so important, cohesive device is so important in your writing. And today we're gonna talk about the passive, okay? If you like grammar, you like this, okay? But if you don't like grammar, maybe you need this video really, if you don't like grammar, you really need this video, okay? Because that will help you get the 7, all right, guys? So if you've been having problems with your grammar, take some time to practice. All right, okay, so today I'm going to talk about the passive, okay? So as I said before, when it comes to grammar, okay, so when I'm helping students with the IELTS and helping them with the writing, usually when it comes to grammar, the first thing I talk about are the linking words, because you need these linking words to have complex sentences, all right? And that's a requirement if you want a 7. All right, so when you have these complex sentences, you need the linking word. So that's usually the first thing I help my students with. The second thing we talk about the passive, okay? So what is the passive, okay? So the passive voice, okay, roughly speaking, is when you focus more on actions, okay? So you have a sentence and you focus more on actions, and then your focus is not so much on the person doing the action, okay? And as I describe it, I want you to start thinking about your essay, either task 1 or task 2, academic or general, okay? Start thinking about it, okay? So I'm gonna say it one more time. So when we use the passive, all right, guys, what we're doing is we are focusing on the action, not so much on the person or thing doing it. All right? So that's one use. Another use for the passive is when you don't know who or what is doing the action, you need a passive because you don't have a subject. Okay? But one of the main reasons why, actually two main reasons why the passive is so important in IELTS writing, especially if you want a 7+, okay, is the fact that if you want to be a bit more formal, you need to use the passive. All right, guys. So if you want to be more formal in your writing, if you want a 7, you need to use the passive. That's one reason. Okay. And the second reason is when we are using the passive, okay, we tend to, you know how a lot of people say, oh, do I give my opinion? Do I not give my opinion? So your opinion will be given when you're asked to give your opinion. Okay. But if you want to say something, but you don't want to say what do you need? You can use the passive. Okay, so I need this, I do that. No, this was done. I think, no, people believe, okay, or it is believed that kind of thing. Okay, guys, so to me, these are the main reasons why the passive is so important. Okay, your writing becomes more formal. Okay, and then you don't have to keep saying I, and you can change what you say a little bit. Okie dokie. All right, so what is the main problem with the passive? Okay, so as you know, I'm an English teacher. Okay, so I teach English here in Brisbane, Australia, and I help loads of international students. All right, so I deal with people from all over the world. Okay, and I know their difficulties. Okay, so when it comes to the passive, what usually happens is most people, they know. Okay, they know what a passive is. They look at the sentence. They can understand it. However, they can't quite use it. Or if they use it, if they make a sentence with the passive, they might make mistakes. Okay, so this is one of the main problems when it comes to the passive. Okay, most people know it. They recognize it, but they can't quite use it, okay? And there's one specific mistake that most people make, which I'll tell you in a little bit. All right, okay? So what happens most of the time is, okay, now let's think about the IELTS exam, let's think about the essay, okay? Or even task 1, okay? For academic or general, okay? Yeah, just one thing, guys. If you're doing if you're doing the general IELTS, and if your letter is informal, maybe you don't need passive that much. But if your letter is informal, yes, definitely. And if you're doing academic, basically your whole task 1 will be passive, especially if you are describing a process. Because when you think about task 1, okay, in the academic, okay, they have the process sometimes, that you have to describe, okay? So when you have to describe that process, who are you going to say is doing the action? No one is doing the action, right? The action is happening. So you need a passive to describe that, okay? So if you're doing the IELTS academic, you really need the passive in task 1, all right, guys? Because you have to describe data, less like a report. Okay, so you definitely need it. Okay. So let's think about. So thinking about this. All right, guys. One thing that comes to my mind, what I've seen. Okay, people who kind of don't really use the passive in their writing, they might be getting 5.5, 6. Okay, if you don't have any passive in your writing. But then there are those people who are using the passive, they are trying, and they're making mistakes. These people are getting 6.5. Okay? However, the people who are really using the passive, and they are using it accurately, they are not making mistakes, these people are getting 7. Okay, these people are getting the desired 7 in writing. Okay, guys, so just think about it, okay? Not using it incorrectly, and using it accurately. So that is the difference, okay? So as I said before, okay, I help loads of people with the passive, okay? And I'm gonna tell you now the most common mistake with the passive, all right? Okay, so unfortunately, this is a live, so I'm using my phone. So I'm not using my computer, so I can share my screen with you guys, okay? So if you're really interested, maybe you can grab a grammar book and have a look at the passive section of your book, all right? Because I'm gonna tell you now, I would rather write it, but we can't now, but it's okay. All right, so let's just start with a very, very simple sentence, okay? And then we're gonna try and make it passive. So we're gonna think about a sentence in active, and then we're gonna try and change it to passive, and then I'm gonna tell you where most people make mistakes. All right, okay, so I like to use this example, okay? It's an example I've been using for a long time, and it really works, okay? So I have a friend, okay? And this friend, his name is Jack, okay? And Jack is a civil engineer, all right? And Jack builds houses every day because he's a civil engineer, all right? So he builds houses, okay? So he goes to the project and he does this kind of things, okay? So when you think of this sentence, Jack builds houses. Jack builds houses every day. Okay, so Jack builds houses. When you think of this sentence, Jack builds houses, is the sentence passive or active? Think about it. The verb is to build. Who builds? Jack. All right, Jack is before the verb, so that's the subject. Yeah, okay, so yeah, so that's active. So Jack builds houses, active. So I'm focusing on Jack. But if I want to focus on the action itself, I will use the passive, right? And how do I transform this simple sentence into passive? Okay, so my first sentence, I'm focusing on my friend Jack. Now I want to focus more on his actions, on the action of the building of the house, all right? So how can I change that? So Jack builds houses. How can I change? I can go, houses are built by Jack. All right, I can just say houses are built, but I want to say I know who did it, so I can say by Jack. Okay. Oh, hi, Fabi. Hi, Fabi. Hi, Carlos. How are you? How are you? We're talking about grammar today. Passive, okay? So yeah, so yeah, guys. So again, one more time, okay? So we have the sentence, Jack builds houses, okay? That's active. And then I want to change to passive. Houses are built by Jack, okay? So when we think about these two sentences, okay, they have the same meaning, but they are a little bit different. The first one, my focus is on Jack. The second one, my focus is on the action. And houses are built. Okay, houses are built. I can understand that by Jack. Oh, so he does it. But because the person who did that action is at the end is not as important anymore. Okay, the focus is the action. All right. So now thinking about the passive sentence. The passive sentence was, houses are built by Jack. Okay, so usually I have the by at the end if I want to say that. Okay, guys. But now let's just focus on the first part. So we goes, houses are built. Full stop. So houses are built. Okay, let's explore a little bit now the grammar of this the sentence, okay? And the passive, of course. So houses are built. That's passive, hey? Yeah, okay, yeah. So most people know that when we're using the passive, we think about the verb. In this case, the verb is build. All right, cool. So the case verb is build, so we know that we have to use the past participle of the verb. So instead of using build, I'm gonna use built. So houses are built. Cool. Everyone remembers that. However, most people forget about the verb be, which will go with the verb. Okay? So the reason people have problems with the verb be is because the verb be will change according to the tense. Okay, so listen to me. The reason we are saying houses are built is because the first sentence I said, Jack builds houses, was present simple. Okay, so if I want to use the passive in the present simple, I need that version of the be. If it's plural, I will need are built. If it's singular, I will need is built. Okay, and that's where people make mistakes. So the mistake sometimes is not really with the passive, but the mistake is most people, they don't know the tense they are using. Okay, so that is why when I revise passive with my students, the first thing we do, we talk about tenses. So it's funny. I remember once a student of mine, he said, hey, Fabi, I think I need to revise the tenses. And I said, oh, okay. He said, yeah, I know you wanted to talk about the passive today, but I really need to revise tenses. I said, I think we can do both. And he said, but we only have 1 hour. I said, oh, but I think I can do it. I can do it. And then that's what we did. So we managed to revise the tenses and the passive at the same time. Okay, so managed to do that. And then at the end, he was like, oh my God, that was amazing, because we revised the tenses and now I know the passive. That's so good. I'm like, yeah, that's it. Because I do think that people are making mistakes because they don't remember the tense. They are not sure what tense they're using. So they can't quite get the verb be right and they make mistakes and they get 6.5, not 7 in writing. Okay, guys, so if I were you, I would grab a grammar book, okay? Grab a grammar book, look at what I'm saying, okay? Highlight the the be part of the verb, okay? So let's say, let me give another example, okay? So, so remember my friend, Jack? So it's lunchtime now here in Brisbane, but my friend Jack, he's a workaholic, okay? So he works through lunch. So what do you think he's doing now? So Jack is building houses, okay? So he's a civil engineer, he's out there talking to people who are building houses, and then, he's building houses, sure. So Jack is building houses. Active, present continuous. Jack is building houses. Now, if I want to focus on the action, how can I say that? Think about it. Houses are being built by Jack. So as you can see, houses are being built. So we kept houses, we kept built. Houses is the thing that is being built, okay? Built is the participle of the verb, but then I need to change the middle because it's my verb be. And now I'm not using simple present anymore. I'm using present continuous. So I'm gonna say houses are being built. If you were singular, a house is being built. Okay? So that's the part where most people get stuck. Okay, guys? And I've seen a lot of people not getting a 7 just because they get the tiny little bit of that sentence wrong. Okay? So if I were you, studying for the IELTS exam, 1 a 7, please revise the passive, okay, guys? And this video will be available on YouTube. You can watch it as many times as you want. And if I were you, I would go over that list, because if you grab any grammar book, okay, in the section where they talk about the passive, okay, there will be a list of tenses and how you use the passive in that specific tense. And my advice would be for you to focus on the verb be. Okay, guys, because that's where you really need. That's what you really need to remember, because that's where people make mistakes most of the time. Okie dokie. All right. Okay. So if you have any questions, pop the questions there. Okay. I'll probably get to it at the end. Okay. But I hope that was well explained. All right. Okay. So the next problem. So I think that the first problem with the passive is that people are using it, but they're not using it correctly. And the second thing is people say they are using it, but they are not. Okay. So once I start working with some people, to do the IELTS, and they need a 7, you have no idea how many people get in touch with me every week saying I need a 7. Okay. So after we talked about the passive, all right, and then I asked them, okay, and then I look at the writing, and then I say, okay, so remember last class, I said that you needed a passive. So did you use the passive? And the person goes, yes. And I said, where is it? And then the person goes and looks at the writing and reads everything and says, I don't think I have it. Okay. So another mistake people make is that they know they have to use it, but they think they're using it. I said, oh, is this passive? I said, no, that's not the passive. Okay. So some people have the impression that they are using it, but in the end, they're not. Okay. So that's another problem that some people have. Okay. Or they know they have to use it, but they just forget. Okay. So my advice, something that you have to do maybe right now. Okay, guys, if you're going to do the IELTS exam anytime soon and you need a 7, okay, 2 things you can do. First thing, grab some previous writings that you have. Okay, grab some that have been checked by someone. All right. So you grab those and try to read again and check, where could I have used the passive? Where? And then you go through it and you look at it. Oh, passive could have gone here, passive could have gone here. And if you have a teacher helping you with the IELTS, okay, ask the teacher, hey, here it was active, but then I thought about using here. What do you think? All right, I thought about changing it. Does it make sense? That's the first thing you can do. And then you can start practicing, of course. And then, of course, you can grab a grammar book and do some activities just to practice a little bit. And then something that I think is very, very important that everyone should be doing is actually maybe before you do your next writing, okay, maybe on the corner of the page, write passive, very big. And make sure you use the passive in your writing. So write passive and then start your writing. And then maybe look at it, try to remember passive. And then let's say you finish your writing, but you haven't really used the passive. Go over it again and try to put the passive somewhere there, okay? Because in my opinion, honest opinion, the passive should come naturally. But some people, sometimes they just can't because of lack of practice. Maybe some topics, they are a bit more difficult to use the passive. But I do think that if you know the passive well, okay, it's quite easy to use. All right. So maybe you should remind yourself that you need to use. All right. So maybe that's something that you should be doing, guys, because again, I've never seen anyone getting a 7, okay, without having at least 2 to 3 sentences using the passive, okay? Yeah, and it's funny because I think it was last year I helped a student get a 7, okay? So she needed a 7 in each band, and overall, of course, to get a scholarship. here at UQ in Brisbane, University of Queensland in Brisbane. And I remember that her introduction wasn't the best. And she kept trying to use the passive in introduction, but she didn't succeed at all. And then we ended up talking about it one day. And then she did some activities, and then I think we fixed maybe 3 or 4 introductions. And then after that day, guys, she didn't make a single mistake with the passive. And guess what? I think she got an 8 overall. Yeah, I think she got 8 for speaking. I think she got 9 in reading, I think. Her listen's pretty good too. And of course, she got a 7 in writing. Yay! Okay. So yeah, guys. So I think that that's what you should be doing. Okay. Do you have any questions? Let me think. Yeah. Oh my God, I talked a lot today. Yeah, guys. Okay. Yeah. So I hope you guys are enjoying the grammar classes. I think people are because, yeah, I think this has been a quite popular class, okay? And if you have any questions, tell me, okay? And if you have any other grammar points that, let's say you're studying for the IELTS, then you have someone check your writing, and you always have the specific types of mistakes, okay? So maybe you can leave a comment here, and I can help you with that, all right? And again, our focus here, okay, if you look at my Instagram, if you look at my YouTube, Facebook, it's all about writing, okay, it's all about a 7+ in writing. But if you have questions about the other parts of the exam, feel free to ask me, okay, I can help you with the other parts of the exam too, but I always feel that people have questions about writing. That's why I'm devoting 2 days a week to spend with you guys to talk about writing. Okay, so any questions? Any final questions, guys? No? Okay. No? All right, okay, so if you have any questions, okay, some people, they email me questions later after the live, okay, and so if you want to get in touch, my email is fabi@fabieNglish.com. Okay, and of course, if you need help with your writing, head to my website, www.fabieNglish.com, okay, and there you will find a free mini course, okay, helping you with the structure of the IELTS writing, okay, because as I said, I think 2 weeks ago or last week, okay, if you don't have a good structure in your writing, you're not likely to get a 7. Even if you have good English, if your structure is not good, you're not gonna get a 7+, okay? That's why I created this mini course, and it's free, okay? You don't have to pay anything for it. And I think that you can do it in maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes, okay? So it's a great overview, especially if you're starting with the IELTS now and you need a 7, all right? Okay, so I'm gonna go now. Any final questions? No? All right, cool, okay. So I'm gonna go, but I'll see you next week, okay? Bye.